right, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. My name is YAH, and I'm with my brother Kased. Shabbat Shalom, brother.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, and we are Savior Word of Yah, Tabernacles of the Congregation of Yisrael. And today we are in the last Shabbat of the Hebrew year with our new year, Rosh Hashanah, Abib, starting on this Tuesday night. So today we're going to go over the calendar again. We're going to kind of do a few little proof points to show you, some of the ways that they're calculating the calendar is not according to Torah. It's not according to our ancient scripts. And we're going to go over how to calculate this. And a lot of people will not do that. They will not show you how they get their calendar. They just tell you what it is. And most of us are literally just following a Jewish calendar, which is Jewish tradition, despite that it conflicts Torah, it conflicts what's recorded. And one thing we know for sure is that they changed the calendar. We know that for sure. They put in a Gregorian calendar. They had a Julian calendar before. They got all kind of Babylonian calendars. But YAH gives us the heavenly luminaries to help us keep our calendar in place. So before we get started, just want to read a quick blurb. In 1582, the Gregorian calendar reform made January 1st as New Year's Day. Catholic countries adopted it, but it was gradually adopted among Protestant countries. The British and American colony did not adopt the reformed calendar until 1752. Until then, the British Empire and their colonies still celebrated the New Year in March. So antiquity understood that in springtime, which they call March, is when the New Year started. Now, the first day of the New Year changes from what they had March 25th to January 1st. The calendar is also made consistent with Europe, because Europe was already on that Julian calendar, by dropping 11 days, with Wednesday, September 2nd, 1752 being followed immediately by a Thursday, September 14th. So they skipped a bunch of days, but what they didn't do is they didn't change the days of the week. So it was Wednesday, September 2nd. The next day was a Thursday, but they skipped a bunch of days to try to catch the calendar up. And it became September 14th, which is about 12 days. So we know for a fact that they changed the calendar. We also know that they calculate their days different. Their daytime starts, their calendar day starts at midnight. That throws off your calendar. You can't do that. It starts at night. You already have at least 6 hours going into night, about 6 hours going into night before they're starting the day. So that's off. Another clue is what happens this week. Kased, are they doing daylight savings in the Netherlands?
I'm actually not sure, but I think they do at some point, but I had to look it up to find out exactly when they do.
Okay. Here in the States, all of us, our daylight savings starts this first day, this Sunday. So literally tomorrow, daylight savings. And you always ask yourself, well, how do you remember what they're going to do? Are they going to move it forward, backward? How do you remember that? Well, it's simple. Well, where are you in the year? Are you going out of the cold into the spring? Then the clock is going to spring forward. That means tomorrow we got to move our clocks an hour forward. Now, when you get to the winter equinox, the fall equinox, excuse me, the day falls short. So that means the clock falls backwards. So that is literally aligned with our equinox. So that's very interesting how they coincidentally know to change the clock on that first day after we have our new year. So that's very coincidental. They're telling you they know when the year starts. Here's another proof point. You have a lot of people that are doing their new year based on the lunar calendar. Well, as we get into class, we're going to see that that's not possible. It goes against simple mathematics. So anybody who's doing their new year based on a lunar calendar, there's two questions that you got to ask them. The first question you got to ask is, how many days are in your year? With the moon, 12 moons will give you every year, no matter what year you're in, 354 days. So are you telling me your year is only 354 days long? That don't add up, because we know there's 364 days in a year. So what the Gentile did is they decided, well, to make it catch up, we're going to add an Adar 2, which is a 12th month -2. In other words, a 13th month. That don't add up. And you have to ask yourself this: Torah kills that easily. Where are the birth records for the child born in the 13th month? Who is the priest that's supposed to cover the 13th month in the order of the priests to go into the temple? Or furthermore, where is there any record of any ancient event in the 13th month in Torah? You're not going to see it. So those are just a few little proof points that make you think. Does it give you an answer? Not necessarily, but it makes you think like, wait a minute, where's the antiquity for this? Where's the proof that they were doing that prior to the Greeks? You're not going to see that. So those are just a few little proof points before we start and get into the class. Because one of the newest things, well, it's not new, but it's starting to resurface again, is we're starting to get this rotating Shabbat again, where the Shabbat somehow is going to be fixed to the way the moon moves. If it moves a certain way this year, then the Shabbat falls this time. If it moves a certain way, then it falls this time. That's not consistent. Yah's ways are not movable. Another one is that there's somehow the new month, or which they call the new moon, is a completely separate day. That's not calculated. That's not counted. That's not in scripture as well. That'd be all 12 days that's not being counted in the calendar. Those things are not adding up. So we're going to get into this a little bit, and we're going to get into, hopefully at the end of this class, we'll be able to have a good comfort level with how do we calculate this new year. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to open up in the beginning. Let's go to Bereshit, because if your calendar conflicts Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, you're in some serious error. So let's open up Genesis, Bereshit chapter 1, and we're going to read 14 through 19. So let me go ahead and pull up the scripts. All right, and we'll go ahead and share the scripts. All right, Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1. Whenever you're ready, brother.
And Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years."
Okay, so let me just ask a quick question. So was the sun and the moon or the stars, was it created for us to worship? Was it created for us to decide that because the moon turned red, that means it's got to be a new year or something? Or what is the statement that it was created for?
For signs.
You want to answer that?
Yeah, well, the book says it, for signs, seasons, and for days and years.
Excellent. So a sign is an omen. It means it's a signal of something. What is the signal for? The days, the months, the years, and the seasons. It's not saying, oh, it's a signal that, you need to worship according to this, or your holy day. It's a holy day because it's a red moon and all. This is what man does. Man takes, for example, the equinox. The new year starts after the point of equal day and equal night. Once you come out the winter time, equal day and equal night. That's the last day of the year. The next day is your new year. So what man has done, he saw the equinox, which is also a sign. The equinox is a sign. It puts a shadow across the earth. And man has decided, oh, that must be equal day and equal night. But that's not the case. So before we continue, let me pull that up real quick. We're going to read what the equinox is and what the equilux is. So let's go ahead and pull that up. All right. Go ahead and share this. All right. So again, as we get into how to calculate the year, we're going to see the term, we're going to use the term equilux. All right. So what is equilux, and why on an equinox, day and night aren't equal lengths? So that's a problem already. If the equinox is supposed to be equal day and equal night, why does it not have equal days and equal nights? That means somebody's not using the proper marking point. In fact, to contrary belief, the lengths of day and night aren't equal on equinox. There's another term for this, equilux. Now, what is the equilux? The equilux is when day and night are of equal length. Now, what people will do with that as well, they think that because it's equal day or equal night, that's New Year. No, that's the last day of the year. All right, so the equilux, its exact date depends on your location around the earth, but it's always before the spring equinox and after the autumn equinox. So this is letting you know you can't use the equinox as your last day of the year. It's not going to add up because that's not equal day and equal night. And here's another foolproof nail in the coffin that you cannot use what they call the equinox as equal day and equal night, is because when you look what day that falls on, every year it falls on the 20th. And I think some years the 21st, like on a leap year. So if every year your equal day and equal night is on the same Babylonian calendar date, in other words, a March 20th, the Babylon calendar is 365 days, sometimes 366 days. The math don't add up. That means from one equinox to the next is at minimum 365 days. Some years, 366 days. That's never and can never be 364 days, which we read later is how long a year is. So again, the term equilux and equinox in the actual Greek or English interpretation of the actual word means the same thing. Equal day for equilux, lux is light, equinox, equinox night. Equal. So if you have an equal day, that means you got an equal night, or else it ain't equal. But what they've decided to do is take the term of equinox and make it the actual definition of what the modern day equilux is. That's no different than them saying new moon is new month. That's impossible. The new moon is rarely ever on the new month. And here's the proof point with that. If the year is 364 days long and the lunar calendar is 354 days long, that means the moon is 10 days short of a year. Every year, it don't change speed, just like the year don't change how long it is. So if it's 10 days too short in year one, in year two, it's 10 days too short. It's 20 days too short. In year three, it's 30 days too short. At what point is it ever going to fall on New Year? It can't. It's physically impossible. But what will happen every 36.4 years, it will fall around the third month. When we start new month for third month, the new moon will come on that same day, because 0.4 is like a fourth of the year, which would be like 3 months into the year. So when we start the third in the 36th year on the third month, you're going to have a new moon. So it just doesn't add up. So let's get back into Torah. Let's go ahead and pick up where you left off, brother. Let me pull up the scripts real quick. All right, Tamshi.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Fourth day. So Genesis chapter 1 and verse 19 is showing you on the fourth day, you have the sun, the moon, and the stars that are now being appointed. And these are used for us to calculate your dividing your day from your night, for signs and for seasons and days and years. All of this happened on the fourth day. This is why your new year starts every year on the fourth day of the week. The fourth day of the week is Abib, day one. And we're going to show you some other proof points of that. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and get into that right now before we go on. I'm going to pull some ancient antiquity. See if I can share this. So the Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient scriptures that were uncovered in the Qumran caves that allow us to get some vision into what the ancients were doing. So this particular scroll is called the Songs of the Sabbath Sacrifice. This is where they recorded what they did on the Shabbat, what the priests were doing, the songs that they were supposed to sing. And what is so great about this, our ancestors recorded what day of the week the Shabbat fell on for every week of the year. So this is in 4Q400. So I guess that's the fourth Qumran cave in section 400. I'm not sure how that works, but if you want to look up the actual originals, you can look up 4Q400 in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you can see what they had. All right, so if we read here what is said in the fragment, 4Q400, it says, for the sage, the song of the Holocaust offering of the first Sabbath on the 4th of the first month. So that's letting you know the first Sabbath of the year is the fourth day of the month. So let's do that math. So if our Shabbat starts, our Abib starts Tuesday night, that's Rosh Hashanah, head of the year. That's day one, Tuesday night. Day two, what we call a Wednesday night. Day three, Thursday night. Day four being Friday night. So all of us are not beginner Hebrews. We understand that Friday night starts our Shabbat, which means we're not going out to go hang out at the movies and go shopping Friday night, for whatever reason, because we understand that that's the Sabbath. We're resting, and that Sabbath does not end until the stars are out on Saturday when it's night. So this is let's go back and see when this was written. You go to the beginning, they're dating it back to, let's see, I want to say 49 or 50 BC. There you go. The 7 fragments of 4Q400 are written in formal script dated to the late Hasmonean period. Excuse me, it's even further, 75 to 50 BCE. So this is back to anywhere from 75 to 50 BC, prior to the Greeks taking over everything. We were recording that the first Sabbath of the year was the fourth day of the month. So this is ancient antiquity. This is Hebrew writing. This is not written in Greek. So if there's exactly 364 days in a year, it never changes. The Shabbat is proving that the Shabbat is the fourth day of the month. That means our Sabbath is correct. It hasn't changed. Today is the Shabbat. So this is ancient antiquity proof, proving you that the Sabbath was never moved, because it's consistent with the heavenly luminaries, which are signs for days, between days and night, seasons, days and years. All right, so let's go to Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 2. Jubilees, chapter 2. And we're going to look at how this sun was given to us as the great timekeeper.
Jubilees chapter 2.
Yeah, 1 second, brother. I got to get there. And this one starts with, and the angels of the presence spoke to Moshe. And if you're looking at your own Jubilees version, understand that depending on who published the book, the chapters were broken up a little bit different because this was all fragmented. All right, so we'll put it on the screen. All right, Yobelum, Jubilees, chapter 2. And we're going to start this at verse 8 and just read through verse 10.
And on the fourth day, he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Shabbats, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Shabbats of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years.
All right, we are not the children of the day, children of the light. You're not called children of the darkness. He's not saying in ancient antiquity, and this is also in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that the moon is our great sign for the days, the seasons, the years, and Shabbats of sea. It don't say that. It's a second witness. It's not the witness, the primary witness. It's a second witness. So he's letting you know the sun is the great sign. Does that mean that we worship the sun? No, we only worshiping the sun if we use the sun as a worship practice that goes against Torah. Now you worshiping the sun. The same thing with the moon. You are a so-called lunatic, is the term for it, if you are using the moon to determine your worship practices that contradict Torah, contradict the ancient scripts. Now you're doing what in Deuteronomy chapter 4 is saying, that you're looking up to the heaven and you're driven to worship them. But it said that I appointed that to the nations so that they can worship that. So that's what they do. That's why they use the equinox and do all kind of sacrifices and have create moon cakes and do all that stuff. They built a whole city after the moon, Jericho. And that's why it was destroyed. There was a lot of moon worship. And in another class, we'll go over how both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, they were worshiping the moon goddess. In the Old Testament, it was Astaroth, which is modern day Easter. And in the New Testament, with the Greeks and the Romans, it was Diana. And Saul, Paul has to check them like, what is you doing? So this is something that our people have a problem with. And what is the Gentile doing now? He's using the lunar calendar. The Jewish, the Khazars, the Ukrainian people, they are using that moon as their great sign. That's like taking, the moon being compared to the mother. That's like taking the woman and making her the head of the household. That's backwards. Things are going to be off. It's against scripture. All right. So did we finish that, brother?
One more verse.
Okay.
Verse 10. We're reading through 10 or?
Yeah, we're going through to 10.
Okay. Well, verse 10, and it divides the light from the darkness, and for prosperity, that all things may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth. These three kinds he made on the fourth day.
Praise Yah. So they always start by telling you, hey, on the fourth day, he created these things. Oh, yeah, by the way, when they're finishing that, oh, yeah, on the fourth day, they created these things. So there's your two witnesses letting you know all this stuff happened on the fourth day. All right, so let's move forward a little bit. We're going to go to Jubilees chapter 6. And Jubilees, if you look into the King James and you understand how did they compile the King James version, they used ancient scripts. This is in the beginning of the 1611 to tell you where they got stuff. They got stuff from Jubilees. They got stuff from Enoch. They got stuff from many other Sefer writings that we had. And they just decided we're going to translate all of that into Greek first. And that's in the Septuagint. Then they decided after, I think about 600 years later, they decided, all right, Catholic Church, we're going to put this in Latin. They decided what they want to put in there. But only the priests would have had actual physical copies of all these things. The common layperson had to go to Torah. He had to go to, the temple and learn from the teaching priests these things. He couldn't afford to have written copies of these things. And this is no different than in the time of the Greeks, when the Roman Catholic Church was pushing their doctrine. The average person couldn't afford no Bible. And furthermore, the average person didn't speak Latin or couldn't read in Latin. So they talked to them and told them what it said. So that's what we were going through. All right, so we're going to go to Jubilees chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 29 through 38. And as always, Shabbat Shalom, sis Yahanaya Yasharala. Good to see you, sis. Shabbat Shalom, brother Lanel Mangan. Good to see you again, family. And as always, Shabbat Shalom to our elder Zahar. Good to see you, family. Shabbat Shalom, sis Ariel. Good to see you as well. And as always, Shabbat Shalom to my brother from another mother, Corey Stoner. Good to see you, family. And I appreciate everybody sharing this. If you know people that are still using this lunar calendar, if you know any debating Hebrews that want to push that lunar calendar, send them this class. Put them on live. It's on live. Send it to them. Let them come on. If they want to break bread, we can break bread. They're not going to disturb the class, but we're going to break bread. We're going to get into scripts, and we're going to make sure that we're addressing these things. We've been doing these classes for years and putting it up, and nobody come and debate it because you can't clearly debate what's written. All you can do is tell me what you doing and why you do it. Could be right. You could be wrong. But at the end of the day, every man must work out his own salvation with fear and trembling. And I fear this word. I tremble at this word. So unless you can show me in this word contradiction to what we're doing, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fear YAH. Yo, Bellum, Jubilees chapter 6. We're going to read 29 through 38. And that one starts with and on the new month of the third month.
All right. Verse 29. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13.
Jump up one verse.
Okay. Jubilees chapter 6 and verse 28. And on this account, he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever, and thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks, from one to another, past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth.
All right. So what that is this telling you the heavenly tablets. It's not some kind of 10 commandment tablets floating in the sky. That's how we like to think because of the way things are written. The heavenly tablets is just simply the sun, moon, and stars. The calendar is written in the sky. That's what that means. So the sky is showing you that there's 13 weeks from one season to the next. That's all that means. If you multiply 13 times 4, I'm not good at math, but I'm pretty sure it equals 52. Tamshi?
Verse 30. And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets.
All right, so it's engraved because those stars, the sun, and the moon is going to move in that same pattern. And it says that all the days of the commandment, each day is a commandment, is 52 weeks of days. So that means there's 52 weeks in a year, every year. Not sometimes there's an Adar 2, they throw in a whole 4 more weeks just for the heck of it. That's not YAH. He don't operate like that. That's man's thinking, trying to justify what he wants to do. And Shabbat Shalom, brother Yafi Yehuda. Good to see you, big bro.
And there is no, verse 31. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command you the children of Yisrael that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days, excuse me, from its feast. For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. So at the end of the day, there's 364 days in a year. Period. And if you disturb that, you are going to mess up your feast. You are not going to worship according to heaven, because the command is let it in the perfect prayer. Let it be done on earth as it is in Shamayim in the heavens. So the heavens is showing you when the holy days are. It don't change. Showing you in heaven when it is. It's showing you the footstool of YAH. It don't change. Tamshi? Jubilees chapter 6 and verse 33. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, Then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Yasharal will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new months and seasons and Shabbats, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years.
So the order of the years is important for our jubilees. We need to know, when is it a jubilee year, and when is it the 50-year jubilee, jubilee of jubilees, when you're supposed to release everybody, send everybody back home. All these things have been tracked. Even when you're in the book of jubilees, it's tracking the jubilees. So we can't do what Yah is commanding us to do, which is to worship him, if we're disturbing his year. Matter of fact, when he was freeing us from Mizraim, he said, let my son go so he can worship me, so he can keep my feast days. He didn't say let him go so he can go do animal sacrifices. No, so that they could worship me, so they could gather and give reverence to things that happened even before them, that Yah made happen on those days.
Verse 35. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book is written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance.
Again, walking after the feasts of the Goyim, of the Gentiles. Now keep in mind, Deuteronomy chapter 4 lets you know that he gave the Gentiles the host of heaven to worship. So they using the host of heaven and worshiping it, which I define that again, is when you're bowing down to those heavenly luminaries and say, I'm gonna do what I want to do because I just like the way the moon looks, or I like the way they doing it. It's against what Yah is saying, but look how beautiful the moon is. Clearly, it's a full moon. It got to be Passover, right? No, it don't add up. And we're going to prove that ain't always the case, because our fathers tracked everything for whatever reason, just like we tracking all these classes, and we make sure it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on our website. We do all this to track it because we don't know 100 years from now, somebody could find this and say, oh, look, this is what they were doing in that time. And they can compare that to scripts. Well, our forefathers did the same thing. They tracked and recorded everything so that in these latter days, we can be like the King Yisrael. That was like, oh, wait a minute, what have we been doing? The priests had found the Torah and we doing everything wrong, so that you can make change and you can repent and start living in the blessings. So it's no coincidence that this thing is starting to come out now, that we're starting to understand, wait a minute, the Jewish people not doing this right. Our elders weren't doing it right. They were doing it based upon what they were given, the best that they could do. It was good for them at that time. That was the best that they could do. But now that we're in the latter days and the elders have brought us to this point, we're supposed to take it further. We're supposed to take it closer to the truth. And we're almost there. Finish it up, Art. Going through verse 38. I think you're at verse what? 36.
My bad, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, so we're on verse 36 in Jubilees chapter 6. Okay. For there will be those who will surely make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon.
All right, so it's letting you know the moon, just like I said earlier, is 10 days too soon from year to year. So if your clock is 10 seconds slow, your battery is dead to us, like lost a whole cell, but everything else is perfect, and it's 10 seconds behind, it's always going to be moving further back, because as the normal rate of going of 364 days, it's falling further and further and further and further back to the point where you having your new year in the summer. It ain't gonna add up. That's why they had to just say, you know what, this ain't adding up. People asking questions. How is it the summer and it's New Year? Nah, you know what? Let's just throw in an extra month and use the equinox and say, you know, the first March, week of March after the equinox, whatever, the first new moon, that's it. Nowhere in antiquity does it say that.
Verse 37. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean days with the Kodesh, for they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbats and feasts and jubilees.
All right. So to my understanding, when they talk about the holy and unclean days, well, what makes the day unclean? Well, if you are doing worship of another god or worship of the luminaries on that day, you've made that day unclean. If it is the Shabbat and you're carrying on like it's a regular day, you have made that day unclean. So that's why they're saying you're mixing up the holy with the unclean. You're taking a day that's supposed to be holy and you're making it unclean.
Verse 38. For this reason I command and testify to you that you may testify to them. For after your death, your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new months and seasons and Shabbats and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh.
Amen. And that means that just means that because you are not keeping Yah's law, you're just going to start offending in other things. You're just going to end up doing whatever, you know, what everybody else is doing. So that's all that's saying. You know, you're messing up the days, you're changing the calendar. Now all of a sudden you keeping this feast, you're doing that, and you're allowing these evil spirits around you because you're in disobedience. And eventually, if these unclean spirits around you, you're going to start doing these unclean things. That's why we have to sanctify ourselves, because we're humans. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go back into Torah. Let's go to Exodus, Shema, chapter 12. Go ahead and pull up the script. Shema, Exodus chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11. And again, if you are unclear of how many days are in a year, how do we, calculate the new year, or if you were told something different that you feel is a strong point that's contradicting what we're saying, go ahead and comment. Put it in there, even if you don't believe it, you just heard it. Go ahead and comment. We're gonna take the time to go into Torah and just prove that that's either right or wrong. Shema, Exodus chapter 12, and we're just going to read verses 1 through 11.
Okay. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Mizraim, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
All right, so that's important, because he's saying, Yahweh is saying this while you're in your captivity, by the way. This Chodesh shall, which is month, shall be unto you the beginning of months. Now ask yourself this: why are they using Chodesh or Kodesh instead of using Yeriah, moon? Why they're not saying this moon shall be unto you the beginning of moons? Why sometimes they translate it as month, the next time they translate it as moon, but moon got a completely different Hebrew word. And keep in mind, Hebrew has no confusion because each letter has a definition that defines the whole word. Ask yourself that. They're translating new month into new moon conveniently when they feel like it, when they want to push their doctrine. But in every language, except for English, moon and month are not derivatives. Only in English is month and moon derivatives. Every other language, including the languages that the Bible was translated originally in, Hebrew, 2 different words for moon and month. Greek, 2 different words for moon and month. So this is doctrine. This is them pushing something on us. This is no different than them saying, oh yeah, the equinox, when the shadow is across the equator, that means equal day and equal night. But then they fork tongue. They telling you, oh, by the way, that's not equal day and equal night. But they start and they spring like that. That's not according to Yahweh or Torah. Tanshi?
Verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Yisrael, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house.
Okay. So this is a question for the viewers. What month, what numbered month, or what is the name of the month in which we are supposed to all take a lamb for their household? This is the commandment where we're commanded to take a lamb. Anybody? It's for the viewers. What numbered month, or what's the name of the month in which we're commanded by Torah to take a lamb? All right, let's give a chance for the viewers. Anybody want to answer that? What is the numbered month or the name of the month when we're commanded in Torah to take a lamb? I know there's a slight delay here, but I know somebody knows this. All right, here's the clue. Pesach, the first month. Abib, hallelujah. Passover, hallelujah. Passover happens in the first month. So he's letting you know the first month is the beginning of months, and that's when we have Passover. So that's letting you know this is Abib. It's letting you know Abib is the name of the first month. Hallelujah. That's right. Everybody got it right. And I know there's a slight delay with the stream, but praise Yah, everybody got that right. Came, and that does happen around March. Has to be in March. Cannot be in April. Don't add up. All right, Tanshi.
Exodus chapter 12 and verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb.
All right, so what we see also here is that we were automatically brought up in Hebrew culture to not be covetous. If I got a whole big lamb and it's just me and my wife, and my next door neighbor is poor, and he got a bunch of kids and a wife, and I have enough to share, then we supposed to share. We're not supposed to say we're going to go put some more in the freezer. No, my neighbor need this. We all got to keep this. That was the welfare system. We were supposed to barter and share with one another. And this was a commandment put in to the commandment regarding the holy days. So that just shows you how much further off we are. We at the point now where we charging folks to come eat Passover. It's not right. Now, there's nothing wrong with everybody contributing to the expenses. But if you are an assembly, a large assembly that take tithes, then that's already built in. You covered. We don't never do that. And we're not a big congregation. It's usually, my elder or me and my wife or one of the brothers. We put it out the pocket and we cover everything, and everybody just brings something. It's not going to kill us to have a feast to share with your neighbor. All right, so let's go ahead and stop there. And if you keep reading, we know on the 14th day is when you're supposed to kill it in the evening. And what you also have to understand is the word Shana, which is year, means doubling or a fold. So that means the entire year is literally broken into two. And I want you to look at what it says right there in verse 3. It says the 10th day of this month, which is the beginning of months, the first month, there's a marker here. Halfway through the year is the 7th month. On the 7th month, on the 10th day, we take in another lamb. That's for atonement. Interesting. Then on the 14th day and the 15th is when we actually eat the Passover. So the 15th day is when we actually eat the Passover and kill it. Now you fast forward again halfway through the year in the 7th month. What happens on the 15th day? Tabernacles. Same thing. 8-day feast. 14th day, 15th day of the first month, you got a 7-day feast. Halfway through the year, you have an identical copy. So praise Yah, that Yah is giving us all the proof points. He's showing that he's an Elohim of order. He makes it real simple. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16. We don't need to go through 11. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 1 through 6.
Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim. From the month of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of Mitzrayim by night.
Praise Yah. So in Devarim 16 and verse 1, he's giving us the name of that New Year month. Abib. Abib. He has not given us a name for any other month of the year. Any other month of the year with a name was given a name by man. We had numbers. The first month was set apart. That's why it was given a name, Abib. And then the 7th day of the week was set apart. And that was given a name. It's called Shabbat. Everything else was in its relationship to that. So, for example, Abib, month 1. The second month from the first month is the second month. The third month from the first month is the third month. The fourth month is so forth till you have the 12th month from the first month, which is the 12th month. And you know this is not Yah naming these things because you can look at the day. Who would name a month Tammuz? Stop it. Y'all would never give a month the name after a pagan god or Nisan. So you're going to change Abib, which is in Torah, to Nisan? You're going to name it after a car or some pagan god? It don't add up. Verse 2.
You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place which Yahweh shall choose to place his name there.
All right, so we can actually stop there as well. So I just wanted to show that in Abib, which is the beginning of months, that's when you have your Passover. And if you look at the definition of Abib, it's age 24, which means to be tender or green. So things become tender or green in the spring, not in the middle of winter. So that lets you know Abib is in the springtime, in the beginning of the year. Now, here's another pagan ritual thing that they have added. Now, because their year don't add up, their year is basically starts when they feel like it. They somehow created some so-called what's the word, Talmudic oral tradition rule that you had to wait until the barley turned green. Then it was New Year. No, that's not in here. Where you see that? Yeah, give us specific instructions of when to start our year. He said, look in heaven. He didn't say, hey, go look at that green ear and see if it's green. Nah. Should it be green? Absolutely. Do we see patterns? Absolutely. We're in Atlanta, Georgia, and it literally snowed today. Like it always does. It usually snows or it gets real cold that last snap right before spring. So the farmers understand this because the farmers know I can't plant those seeds until after that first freeze, that last freeze that happens before the spring starts. So that's second witness. Why all of a sudden we get in this cold weather and then it's gonna be back warm again tomorrow. It just don't add up. All right, so let's stop there. We're gonna move on. So now we're gonna actually get into understanding how do we know when the year starts? How do we calculate this? People ask you the question, they like to use the moon. Well, what if you was locked in a cave and you came out? How would you know what day you in and what month you're in? Well, Enoch gave us that. The answer for everything is look up to the heavenly tablets. Look in the sky. The sky is going to tell you where you are in the year. And because the year is fixed to 52 weeks, 12 months, 7 days a week, if you have enough days, you can calculate exactly what day you're in, which will tell you what day of the week you're in. So we're going to go to Enoch, the book of Enoch, chapter 72. All right, so let's go ahead and pull this up. Enoch, chapter 72. Let's start this at verse 1. And let me go ahead and share that. And this starts with the book of the itinerary of the luminaries of heaven. You found it, Kessler?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Enoch, chapter 72. And go ahead and start when you're ready, brother.
The book of the itinerary of the luminaries of heaven, the position of each and every one in respect to their work, their ranks, in respect to their authorities, and in respect to their seasons, each one according to their names and their places of origin, and according to their months, which Yisrael, the Kodesh Malach, who was with me, and who also is their guide, showed me, just as he showed me all their treatises and the nature of the years of the world unto eternity, till the new creation which abides forever is created.
All right. So this is going to be the same until the new creation. And this new creation is going to abide forever. Now, we know it ain't talking about now. That new creation ain't here yet, because this is going to be destroyed. We're going to get a new heaven and a new earth. And a lot of people got beef with Enoch because it contradicts the Jewish tradition. Let's give proper respect to Enoch. If you go into Jubilees and you go into Yesher and all those Sefer writings, Enoch was credited as the first person to teach Yah's law to the entire world. He literally was a king over the entire world. All the kings came to him to have him teach Yah's righteousness. So that means the law was here well before Moshe gave the law, well before the so-called Hebrews, which are those descended of Eber, of the line of Abraham, were even born. How else would they have known in antiquity, don't sleep with your mother, don't sleep with your daughter? How would they know laws like that? Don't murder. These were laws that was already given. The law was already given, but it was formalized and it was written when we started writing, at the time that writing came about. And this is when we are now given a written law, because we were already scattered and everything was all over the place. So now we have to have some kind of written document that we can refer to. But Enoch was already teaching these things. And furthermore, the calendar that we credit to Enoch, that we call the Enochian calendar, is the only calendar system in which the author at least makes the claim that Yah's Kodesh Malach, which means holy angel, gave it to him. Not Julian, a man who made himself into the God, not Pope Gregory, that's his calendar. This calendar, at least the author is claiming that Yah gave this to him. Nobody else makes that claim.
Okay, Enoch chapter 72 and verse 2. This is the first commandment of the luminaries. The sun is a luminary whose egress is an opening of heaven, which is located in the direction of the east, and whose ingress is another opening of heaven located in the west. I saw 6 openings through which the sun rises, and 6 openings through which it sets. The moon also rises and sets through the same openings, and they are guided by the stars. Together with those whom they lead, they are 6 in the east and 6 in the west heaven. All of them are arranged one after another in a constant order. There are many windows both to the left and the right of these openings.
Okay, so verse 3 is a lot in that verse. So there's 6 openings in the sky in which the sun rises and sets. So I want you to picture like a rainbow, and I'm going to pull up a graphic so we can look at that. Each one of those little colors of the rainbow is an opening in which the sun rises and sets from the east to the west. So understand that the sun is moving, not what the Gentiles gave us. The Gentiles gave us the sun don't move. Like that's God. The sun is immovable. No, Yah don't move. Yah's immovable. The sun moves. The sun does what Yah told it to do. And here's another major proof point that people skip right over. It says the moon and the sun are all guided by the stars. Well, when do the stars come out? What time of day does the star come out?
At night.
At night. So if something is guiding you, it's in front of you. So in other words, your calendar day starts at night because the sun has to be guided by the stars. The moon has to be guided by the stars. So that's another proof point from ancient antiquity that your calendar day starts at night, not in the daytime. All right, let me pull up that graphic since I talked about it real quick. Just so we can see what these 6 openings look like. All right, I put together a small little graphic that I'm going to show so we can better see, because I'm really not a mathematic person. I'm a visual person. So sometimes I got to see things for it to make sense to me. All right, so here you see this graphic here. All right, so I put this together. No, this is not LGBT. This is just a graphic. All right, so you have 6 openings. You see, you got this one is the first opening, the purple one, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Those are 6 openings. You see this arrow that shows you the direction that the sun moves. Comes from, rises in the east, and sets in the west. So the way you're looking at it this way is just really so that we can depict it. But what this is like the angle of the sun. This is why sometime of the year when you're driving home from work, the sun is dead in your eyes. And then there's other times when you're driving home from work and it's not dead in you, it's kind of high above you. As the sun is higher in the highest gate, these are the hotter portions of the year. When the sun is closer to the earth, that means it's really only heating up a small portion of the earth. It's just like if you take a flashlight on your phone and you put it down close to something on a piece of paper, it's going to be a small little light hole. But if you pick the phone up a little bit higher with your light, it's going to light up that whole page. So that's how the sun works. The higher up it is, the hotter it is. The more sunlight is covering more square footage of the surface level of the earth. When the sun is closer to the earth, it's really only heating up a smaller portion. So how the sun works is it goes from east to west. And then repeats east to west. And as it's going up, 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 up till it goes all the way up, then comes all the way down. Day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night, till it goes back and repeats the cycle. Now, just because it's at the bottom don't mean that's the first month of the year. You have to go to when it tells you the first month of the year is. All right, so we're going to stop that. I just want you to visualize that. Now let's go back into the scripts or Enoch, the Sefer writings. All right, so where is the Sefer writings? Let me pull that back up. I don't know why it's dropped from my screen now. Okay, there we go. Back in Enoch chapter 72. And we're at verse Did we finish 3?
Yeah, we're at verse 4.
Okay. Kamshi.
Enoch 72 and 4. First there goes out the great light, whose name is
Hold
the
on
sun.
1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
Seem like the scripts ain't pulling up. Let me see why it's not pulling up. Wasn't sharing for whatever reason. There we go. All right, Enoch chapter 72.
Verse 4. First there goes out the great light, whose name is the sun. Its roundness is like the roundness of the sky, and it is totally filled with light and heat. The chariot on which it ascends is driven by the blowing wind. The sun sets in the sky in the west and returns by the northeast in order to go to the east. It is guided so that it shall reach the eastern gate and shine in the face of the sky. In this manner, it rises in the first month through the major gate. It proceeds through this gate, which is the fourth among those 6 openings, which are located in the direction of the east.
All right, so just like I said on that rainbow, the first month of the year isn't at the bottom on the shortest part. Because remember, the first month of the year is starting to get warm. It's not the coldest portion of the year. So you have to go up to the 4th gate, which I colored green, which is the 4th little strip of that rainbow. That is the first month of the year. That's Abib.
Verse 7. By this 4th gate, through which the sun rises during the first month, there are 12 open windows from which a flame flows when they are open at the appropriate time. When the sun rises in the east in the sky, it goes out through this 4th gate for 30 mornings and descends faithfully through the 4th gate in the western sky.
All right, so it's letting you know that in Abib, there's 30 days in the month. And as we read this, we're going to see that there's a pattern here. So you can go ahead if you want to start to learn how to calculate your months. The equal day and equal night for this year is going to fall on the 15th. The daytime portion of the 15th is the equal day portion. The night before that is the same distance, same amount of time as the daytime portion of Tuesday. So that means at Tuesday night, when our day starts, that's starting our Wednesday. So that's Abib day 1. It falls on a Tuesday, but it happens on the 4th day, which starts Tuesday night. Just because it's Tuesday don't mean it's the 4th day. The 4th day doesn't start to Tuesday night. Just like Friday doesn't mean it's the 7th day. It depends where you are in Friday. If you're in the nighttime portion of Friday, you're in your Shabbat.
Okay, verse 8. When the sun rises in the east in the sky, it goes through this 4th gate for 30 mornings and descends faithfully through the 4th gate in the western sky. During those 30 days, the day daily becomes longer and the night nightly shorter for 30 days.
All right, so there's a pattern here as well. So that means for 30 days during Abib, your night is getting shorter. The day is springing forward. That's why it's called spring. So you have 2 equinoxes in a year. You have this one, the spring equinox, and you have the autumn equinox, where you're halfway through the year, where you have almost equal day and equal night. It's not exactly the same as the spring equinox, but it's close. Equal day and equal night. How we know the difference? Again, if you're in a cave and you come out and you realize, oh, it's equal day and equal night. How do you know the difference? Well, you wait a few days. As the days go on, is the night getting longer? Then you're not in the equilux of spring. You in the autumn equilux because the day is getting longer for 30 days. But if the day is getting, the night is getting longer for 30 days. But if you're in the spring equilux and the day is getting longer every day, now you know you're not in the autumn equilux. You're in the spring equilux. You're in spring. You're in Abib. So it's important to know the difference. It's telling you specifically in this first month, there's 30 days. And for those 30 days, the day is getting longer. So that means on Wednesday, you're going to see the day the sun goes down at like 8 something or whatever. Then, the week after that, it's going to be a little bit later. And we know that. How we know is because we keep the Shabbat. So we know when Friday comes around, we know, okay, it's about to get dark at a specific time. And we trying to squeeze every little bit of that time on that preparation day to make sure we get all the things we need for Shabbat, to make sure we finish working and getting everything out the way. Because we know Shabbat comes, we chilling, we resting. So we know we can't keep looking and say, oh, it's going to get dark at 6 o'clock. No, it's not. Where are you in the year? It's going to get dark later and later. Sometimes it gets to a point where it's getting dark at 9 o'clock. Yes, Brother Yafi, the closer the sun is to the earth, the cooler it is, because that means the sun is covering less of the earth because it's close in the gate, the lower gate. All right,
verse 10. On that day, the day is longer than the night by 1 night. So the day turns out to be exactly 10 parts and the night to be 8 parts.
Okay, that's another clue. There's 18 parts in a day. So the 18 parts would be like 18 hours almost. And see, this is why Babylon does things to cause confusion. Who told you that there was 24 parts in a day? You decided to mix that up that way. Our calendar had 18 parts. That's why you have here 10 parts of the day are day and 10 parts of the calendar day are night. So when you're trying to find out what day of the year it is, you have to say how many parts are day and how many parts are night. And if you see a ratio that's close to this, then you know what month you're in. And every day, if you're really a mathematic person, you can track exactly how it changes a specific amount every single day. And drill down to the exact day and the exact month of the year you're in using his mathematics. Tamshi?
Verse 11. The sun rises from the 4th eastern gate and sets in the 4th western one. Then it turns and comes into the 5th gate of the east for 30 days, through which it rises and sets in the 5th gate. At that time, the day further becomes longer and becomes 11 parts, and the night shortens and becomes 7 parts on account of the sun.
All right. So in the second month of the year, it's giving you another calendar count, 30 days. So on Abib, you have 30 days. So from Tuesday to 15th, with the Tuesday night being day 1, Wednesday night, day 2, you count 30 days. That's going to give you the 30 days of Abib. The next day is going to be your second month. And that's day 1 of your second month. And then you have to count again 30 days with the second month, day 1 being day 1, all the way to the 30th day of the second month. And you will know you're in that second month because it's showing you that the day is even longer, with 11 parts of that day is going to be daytime. And 7 parts of that day is going to be night. Verse 13.
It then returns to the east and comes into the sixth gate, rising and setting through that sixth gate for 31 days, according to the principle of the gate. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night still further, so the day becomes 12 parts, and the night shortens and becomes 6 parts.
All right, so here you have the last month of spring, the third month of that season. And here's just a little foreshadowing. All right, it's a given pattern. Every season starts the same. 30 days, the first month of that season. The second month of that season, 30 days. And then the last month of that season is 31 days. So that's all you have to remember to calculate your calendar. This pattern, 30, 30, 31. Then you go into the next season, summer, 30, 30, 31. Then you go to the next season of fall, 30, 30, 31. And then in winter, the first month of winter, 30, the second month of winter, 30, and the last month of winter, which is what we're in now, you have 31 days this month. So that's the pattern. It's a pattern that repeats forever. It never changes. It's always 30 days the first month. The last month of the season is 31 days. And if you go back and look at that rainbow, in between each color, there's a line. Well, for the sun to cross that imaginary line to go into the next gate, it takes an extra day to go through that last gate of that season to go into the next season. Tamshi?
Verse 15. Then the sun is raised in such a way that its duration shortens and night occurs. The sun returns to the east and enters the sixth gate, rising and setting through it for 30 days.
All right, so it's going back through the sixth gate. So it goes up to the sixth gate, starts at the fourth, fifth, sixth. It's at the top of that rainbow. Now it falls back down. When it reaches the top of the rainbow, remember, that's the longest days of the year. The day is twice as long as the night. And it don't just automatically, because it's going down, all of a sudden the day is shorter than the night. No, it takes time. It still has to go through those different gates where the sun is still hotter. So you got to look at that rainbow again. These are for the mathematic people. If you're at the bottom of that rainbow and you're going from east to west and you're just traveling along that arc to go from east to west, that distance at the bottom is shorter. That's why your days are shorter. But when you go to that top gate, the distance from the line of that top gate on the east to the line of the top gate on the west is a longer line. So it takes longer for the day. That's why the day is longer. And that's why as you go down that rainbow and those gates, the day starts to get shorter. That's why you're in the second time of being in this fourth month, which is the second time in this sixth gate. Yeah, the day is still longer than the night, but every day the daytime is getting shorter. All right, Tamshi.
Verse 16. When 30 days are completed, the day decreases exactly by 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. Then the sun, leaving the west by that sixth gate and going to the east, rises through the fifth gate for 30 mornings and sets again in the fifth gate in the west.
All right, so now it went from the sixth gate. It's the second time it's in the sixth gate, is dropping down into the fifth gate, which means it's still longer than the day, but the days are getting shorter because the sun is getting lower. Just like Brother Yafi said, the closer the sun is to the earth, the cooler it is. So it's starting to get cooler. It's not as hot as it used to be, but it's still hot. You're still in summer.
Verse 18. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts. So the day becomes 10 parts and the night 8 parts. Then the sun, departing from the 5th gate and setting in the 5th gate in the west, rises in the 4th gate for 31 days, according to the principle of the gate, and sets in the west.
All right. So this last month of summer, there's 31 days. So again, at the last month of each 13 weeks, the heavenly tablets have 13-week divisions. The sky, you have 31 days in that month. So the last month of summer has 31 days. Just like now, we're in the last month of winter. There's 31 days. So to calculate your calendar according to the way YAH gave it to us, it's a pattern of 30 days 1 month, 30 days in the second month, 31 days in the third month, 30 days in the fourth month, 30 days in the fifth month, 31 days in the 6 months. You're halfway through the year. That pattern continues. And this is why YAH says to us, this month will be beginning of the months of the year for you. We are set apart. I don't care what the Gentiles' reasoning is or what he thinks or what people that stole our culture did with it. I don't care about that. YAH said, this is what you are to do. This is what makes you set apart. This is what makes you a treasure and a peculiar thing. Because you start your day at night. Everybody else wait until midnight. You starting your Shabbat Friday night. Everybody else saying, oh, Saturday is supposed to be a Sabbath. Yeah, the daytime portion. You doing it different. Because we are only doing this not because we so intelligent, we looked up and we just said, oh, hallelujah, it just makes sense. Look, no, we were given this instruction. We are sottish people. We're not claiming to be the smartest people on the earth, even though we are. We're not claiming to be that. We're just claiming that this was YAH's instruction and we're following his instruction. Shabbat shalom, Sis Shirley. Good to see you.
Enoch, chapter 72 and verse 20. On that day, the day is aligned with the night so that they become equal. So the night becomes 9 parts and the day 9 parts.
All right, so that is your autumn equilux. This is in after the summer, and you're going into fall because the day is falling shorter than the day. Before that happens, you have equal day and equal night again. Not exactly, but close, very close. The only time it's the closest is in spring, but it's close. The day after that, which is the 7th month, day 1, when you have trumpets, the holy day of trumpets. And again, why are you blowing a trumpet? Oh, it's halfway through the year. The holy day. Your night is starting to get longer than the day. Tamshi?
Verse 21. Then the sun, departing from that gate and setting in the west, returns to the east and comes out through the 3rd gate for 30 days and sets in the 3rd gate in the west. On that day, the night becomes longer than the day. It becomes longer than the previous night, and the day becomes shorter than the previous day for 30 days. So the night turns out to be exactly 10 parts and the day to be 8 parts.
All right. So if you go back and you write these notes of each gate, how many parts are day and how many parts are night, and you just track that, and then you put a month in each gate, you can use your calculator and you can calculate and convert parts to hours, which will give you a breakdown and it'll tell you exactly how many hours. I think it's like an hour and a third is equal 1 part. And now you can get the exact amount of minutes of sun you're going to have for every day of the month. If you were that kind of mathematic person, this is how you can be locked in a cave, come out. It could be snowing one day and then you can't see, or it's cloudy. Then, you track the next day, and then you track, and you keep tracking several days. You see a pattern here. And you say, oh, okay, this is where we're at.
Verse 22. On that day, the night becomes longer than the day, becomes longer than the previous night, and the day becomes shorter than the previous day for 30 days. So the night turns out to be exactly 10 parts and the day to be 8 parts.
All right. So when they're telling you that these exactly 10 parts and exactly 8 parts, that's the last day of that month. For example, the last day of the 6th month is when you have your equal day and equal night. The last day of the 12th month is where you have equal day and equal night. It's not saying that that month starts with an equal day and equal night. No, that's not what that's saying. Whatever ratio they're giving you, that ratio was for the last day of that calendar month.
Verse 23. Then the sun, departing from that third gate in the west and returning to the east, comes out through the second gate in the east for 30 days, and in the same manner it sets through the second gate in the western sky. On that day the night becomes 11 parts and the day 7 parts. Then the sun, departing on that day from that second gate and setting in the west in the second gate, returns to the east and rises in the first gate for 31 days, and sets on that day in the western sky. On that day the night lengthens and becomes 12 parts, whereas the day shortens and becomes 6 parts.
All right, so that is your shortest days of the year. So that's what they call solstices. So because they worship the sun, the heathen worships the sun, he's doing everything based on the fact that the sun is here. So because YAH wants to do it this way, the devil want to do it his own way. So the devil say, this is the birth of the sun. Because now after this point, the sun is starting to grow in how long the day is versus the night. That's the winter solstice. You have the longest night of the year because the day is half as long as the night. Verse 27.
Verse 27. Thus the sun completes its appearances and goes through those same cycles of appearances a second time, coming out through all the openings for 30 days and setting also in the west opposite to it. On that night, the length of the night decreases by 1 night, so the night becomes 11 parts and the day 7 parts.
All right, so the night is getting shorter again because it's moving back up. It's going back up the first gate. When it dropped all the way down to the bottom of the first gate, that linear from the bottom of that purple gate all the way to the other side, the west, is the shortest distance. If you take that curve and you straighten it out, make it flat, there's a certain distance. That distance equates to a certain amount of time. Now you have a bigger, broader arch and you straighten that out, it's going to be a longer line. So all of this is in order. All of this is what you can observe in the sky. We don't have to depend on Jewish people and go Google, when is the new year? Furthermore, they call Rosh Hashanah the beginning of the 7th month. They call the 7th month the new year. That don't add up. So the people who are calling themselves Ashkenazi, which are the Khazars, which is modern day Ukraine and Russia, those people start their year when they having trumpets. Now, why would they do that? What happens in trumpets? Excuse me, not trumpets. What happens in atonement? What are we supposed to do in atonement that involves money? Anybody? For atonement, what happens in atonement? What are we supposed to forgive? Debts. Absolutely, Brother Linnell. And there's a little delay, so that's why there's a little pause in between your comments and the stream. Right. So they forgive debts. So they figure, since we got to forgive your debts, that's going to be a new year. We're going to start the year all over again so I can start calculating things differently. They about their money. They not about this word. They about their money. If they was about this word, instead of stealing our identity, they would be trying to learn from us, and they would be sharing the ancient antiquity that they are hiding from us. So it don't add up. The 7th month is not the beginning. It's not Rosh Hashanah. The 7th month is Yom Teruah, trumpets. Then the 10th of that 7th month, which they call Rosh Hashanah, that's Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, which is atonement. All right. Go ahead and finish that out, Cassette, excuse me.
So good. Verse 29. Then the sun, returning and entering the second gate, which is in the east, resumes its appearances for 30 mornings, rising and setting as usual. On that day, the night becomes shorter, so the night becomes 10 parts and the day 8 parts. On that day, the sun, departing from the second gate and setting in the west, returns to the east and rises through the third gate for 31 days and sets in the western sky.
All right, so that's the last month of winter. 31 days. That's where we're at right now. We're in the third gate. Verse 32.
On that day, the night shortens and becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Then the night becomes equal with the day, and the day of the years add up to exactly 364 days.
Praise Yah. So that shows you in this month, this last month of winter, on Tuesday, the daytime portion of Tuesday will be the exact amount of time as the night of Monday. So Monday night, I want you to go outside and look when you see the stars, when it becomes dark, and look at what time it is. Then go ahead and look at how long before it gets dark again. And you're going to see it's an equal day and an equal night. That is the last day of the year. Then Tuesday night, that nighttime is going to be shorter than the daytime of Wednesday. The daytime of Wednesday is going to be longer than how long Tuesday night was. That lets you know you are now in your new year. But the equal day and equal night is day 364. That's why a lot of these people starting their new year, what they call on the equinox, even if that was the equal day, equal night, you still wrong. Because you got to wait until the nighttime after you have equal day and equal night to be your day one. You can't count it the day of where they say that is the actual equinox. Don't add up. All right, go ahead and finish it up.
Okay, verse 33. The lengths of the day and the night, as well as the shortness of the day and the night, are determined by the course of the circuit of the sun and distinguished by it.
And that's why it's called the great timekeeper. Tamshi?
The circuit becomes longer or shorter day by day and night by night, respectively. Thus, this is the order for the course of the movement and settlement of the sun that great luminary which is called the sun, for the duration of the years of the universe in respect to it, to its going in and coming out.
So that's for the duration of the years of the universe. So as long as the universe is around, this is how it's going to be.
It is that very luminary which manifests itself in its appearance, as Yahweh has commanded that it shall come out and go in this manner. And neither does it diminish in respect to its brightness, nor take rest, but continue to run day and night. As for the intensity of his light, it is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. Nevertheless, the sun and the moon are equal in regard to their respective sizes.
Praise Yah. So that just blew NASA out the water. The sun and the moon are the same size. How can that be? If the sun is a million miles away or whatever number they gave it, and the moon is right here, how are they the same size? Don't add up. How else can it block the other one? How can you have these eclipses if they're not the same size? The only other way is to say that it's a million miles away. That don't add up. Yah does not lie. It's the same size. That means all these things are way closer than what they're telling us. But they got to make it like it's so far away, it's so unattainable, so that they could seem like they more smarter. All right, so that's how you calculate your year. If you get out your calendars, you get a blank calendar for the year, and you start on Tuesday night, the 15th. And remember, you got to be consistent. If you're going to start the night of the 15th, which is when it actually starts, then you got to count everything by the night of. If you want to say what's the daytime portion of the new year, then you would say Wednesday, and that would be day one. And that means when you're counting, you got to count Wednesday as day one for 30 days. But if you count as Tuesday night as day one, then every month you have to follow that. You have to start with the night of, or else you're going to be confused. You're going to mess your days up. When you first start, that'll throw you off because you know Friday night is the Shabbat, but you know Saturday is the Shabbat. So you got to make it always Friday night. All right, so what we're going to do now before we close out is we're going to show some more Dead Sea Scrolls proof of when a year starts. So let me pull up the graphic. There was a certain thing called the calendrical documents. The calendrical documents that was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what they did in these documents is they detailed the year, how it's calculated, and what day was what. So we're going to pull that up. We're going to take a look at that. So these are the calendrical documents that were translated and put into this graph here. So notice they're following the same thing that Yah says. You got a bib, which is the first month. Then you have second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, all the way to 12. You don't see no other names up here. Then the days of the week is the same thing. You got the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, Shabbat, Sabbath. So they're showing you that the only name was the name that Yah gave. So notice here, when you look on their calendar, this is, I believe this is the Essenes that recorded this. They're letting you know that Abib day one starts the fourth day of the week. When does the fourth day of the week start? Tuesday night, when we have our Bible study. Every Tuesday night, we have our Bible study. That's the beginning of the fourth day at nighttime. So it's consistent. And remember what we read in the Psalms of Shabbat sacrifice, where they calculated and they recorded the day of the week for each Shabbat of the week. They said the first Shabbat of the first month is on the 4th day of the month. So once again, this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is 4Q320 and 4Q321. This Dead Sea Scrolls. They're showing you from BC. This is what Israelites were doing. And if you follow what the Essenes did, you understand that the Sanhedrin and the Greeks were running things and they were persecuting people trying to keep the Shabbat and believers. So they fled to the wilderness and they did things the way YAH did things. You can also look in the Zadokite scrolls, which is also in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Zadokites left from doing what the Sanhedrin was doing because they were too much on oral tradition, making up all kind of things that were brought into power when we had Edomite kings, when we were in captivity in our own land, we were occupied. So they recorded everything here and they showed you the first Shabbat of the year happens on the 4th day of the month. When do we have ours? Tuesday the 15th. Shabbat, 4th of Abib, never changes. And then if you look here where they have the 14th is the preparation for Pesach, the 15th is your Abib, the 15th is your unleavened bread, Hag Hamatzah. You have the 7 days of that. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, all the way to the 21st of Abib, which is consistent with Torah, right? Then you have the first morrow after the Shabbat, which is the day after the first Shabbat, after unleavened bread. You now have your first fruits on the 26th of Abib. The heathen has their first fruits the 16th of Abib, the Jewish calendar. That don't add up. Because if you read the commandment regarding keeping the first fruits, you can't eat leavened bread until you've made that first fruit offering. So if you made your first fruit offering on the 16th of Abib, according to their calendar, the way they can, you can start eating leavened bread. That don't add up. That leavened bread, you can't eat leavened bread until after the 21st. So you see the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls were doing the same thing that Torah said. And if you look at our calendar, it follows the same structure. If your Shabbat is not on the Shabbat, on the regular Saturday, it mess up your whole calendar. If your New Year start on a Sunday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, Friday, you're not going to get Feast of Pentecost, first fruits, in the middle of the 3rd month. Why is it in the middle of the 3rd month? Well, guess what? If you go to Jubilees, chapter 10, it records that Abram, when he was given the covenant of the land and his name was changed to Abraham, he was keeping his first fruits, which is the grain harvest, in the middle of the 3rd month. So was Abraham keeping it wrong? I doubt it. I doubt the day that he's going to change his name to Abraham and give him from the Nile to Euphrates, he was keeping an unholy day as a clean day. He knew what he was supposed to do. Why? Because Enoch was telling everybody what to do. All right, so if anybody needs a copy of this, just go ahead and put it in the comments, put your email address or send us a private message, whatever, and we'll email you copies of this. I'll give you a copy of this. I'll give you a copy of the other one that I showed you that I put together with the little rainbow showing down the gates. So Brother Corey, we'll get you a copy of that as well. So that's all we're going to do today. Again, remember, we will be keeping our New Year Tuesday night. We're going to go ahead and try to stream. We had this, we'll be having this at our elder's house. So we'll do the best we can to stream it. New Year's is not a Sabbathon, so it's not that you can't work, but it's our holy day. We supposed to kick up and turn up like we used to do for their pagan New Year's festival. We supposed to turn up for YAH's New Year festival. He says, observe the month of Abib. You shamar, you guard it. You put that to the side and you guard that. So if we have any questions, something's not clear, you can go ahead and type in chat and we'll go ahead and answer that question. And Brother Corey will go ahead and get you a copy. Brother Linnell will go ahead and get you copies. And of course, Brother Yafi will go ahead and get you a copy as well. All right, so we'll pause for a beat, give everybody a chance to type a question if they have a question, or if they heard some kind of weird doctrine that we need to go ahead and bust wide open in scripts, we'll go ahead and do that. This was the other one that we did. All right. All right, so Yah's will, we will see you for New Year's. And if anybody has any questions, you can just email us or comment. We'll try to get back to you. And everybody else, enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.